Three big-time prospects in the NFL draft for 2025 on today's program. Are they a fit for the San Francisco 49ers? Will they even be around for the 49ers? Should they move up to get one of these three blue chippers on today's Locked On 49ers?
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love and appreciate all the everydayers out there. Make sure you let us know you stopped by. Make sure you're already subscribed, hit the thumbs up and the notification bell and all that. And welcome to all the new listeners as well. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. And we got three big-time prospects to break down on today's program. And these are three of the top prospects in the NFL draft and generally are gone before pick 11 in any mock draft. We are going to talk about these three players: Travis Hunter out of Colorado, the corner, the wide receiver; Abdul Carter, pass rusher out of Penn State; Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Are they worthy of all the hype? Should they even be going as high as they are going in mock drafts? Are they a fit for the San Francisco 49ers? And if they're going to go that early, should the 49ers be moving up to try to get one of these guys if they are that good and they are indeed blue chippers? We're going to go to the defensive side of the ball first, and we're going to go to the position that Croc knows best. And the Heisman Trophy winner, Travis Hunter, cornerback out of Colorado, also played a lot of wide receiver. So, Croc, when you put on the tape of Travis Hunter, first of all, is he a wide receiver? Is he a corner in the NFL? Or is he legitimately both for you? And I really trust your evaluation on these two positions, but specifically the cornerback portion of the evaluation.
I believe, and it feels like he is a cornerback. But the cool thing with him, he's very unique from the standpoint of his ball skills definitely translate on both sides of the ball. Now, is he the, without a doubt, CB1? Like, that's the real question. I think you get just a lot of value at the top of the draft. I expect him to go 1, 2, maybe 3, right? I could see Cleveland Browns, even though they may need a quarterback, but I could see them drafting Travis Hunter just to get another terrific football player on their team. But one thing that's very clear with him at the cornerback position, I don't know if he's the most instinctual guy. Matter of fact, there's another corner in this draft from Michigan, I think Johnson, number 2, that some people may like more as just a pure corner. But the one thing that I think Travis Hunter gives you that other guys, they're just a step below him, his instincts at the corner position are like next level. It's things that you can try to teach, and you can tell guys, hey, if a guy does this and this and you feel this, then you can do this. But he just has this knack for just doing it time and time again. So if you were to line up and say, hey, I want this guy to just play man coverage 10 reps in a row, then this other corner play man coverage 10 reps in a row, who would look better? You may like Johnson maybe a little bit more, but when you start throwing those playmaking skills and just instincts that you can't teach, I think that's what puts Travis Hunter over really a lot of the other guys that I've seen come out at the cornerback position. It's really remarkable the way he's able to do it, just having that feel. It's almost like a Marcus Peters in his prime now. And I think you can see some of this too. There were times where I'd see, Travis Hunter get beat here and there, nothing too crazy. And we would see that from Peters. But Peters was able to make these plays. I mean, just 7 interceptions in the season, 6 interceptions in the season. He was able to do that because he just had these instincts, and whether it was from film study or just having this feel that other guys don't quite have. Travis Hunter, he definitely has it.
Interesting comp there with Marcus Peters. And I know you're not comparing him as just an overall cornerback, but being able to take the ball away. And I'm glad you said it. It was the first thing that jumped out to me is Travis Hunter's ball skills, both as a corner and a wide receiver. I didn't know really what to expect at wide receiver because I didn't watch a lot of college football this season. I'm playing catch up on a lot of what happened in the 2024 season. And I knew he was literally the number 1 recruit in college football coming into college out of high school.
I think that's overlooked. a lot of people, they talk about just the hype that he's gotten and, Heisman, he wouldn't do that without the backing of Deion Sanders and whatnot. But it's like, are you guys forgetting? Like, he was the #1 overall player in his class. And it was just unprecedented that he went to Jackson State coming out. But he was #1 overall athlete. So he could play receiver, he could play corner. What he's doing is he's living up to what he was supposed to be coming out, which some guys just don't. I mean, how many times have we seen #1, #2, #3 overall guy coming out of high school and he not live up to the billing? But this is a guy who he was the #1 prospect in the country, and he's lived up to it, winning the Heisman Trophy.
Absolutely. And not only was he the #1 recruit in the country, I think he was like the #1 recruit for a lot of people, like beyond just one season. Like if you were ranking recruits from a decade of recruiting classes, he's like in the top of that top group, right? And so big time talent, listed at 6'1", 185. He plays 6'1" because he has length. He clearly has long arms. But I don't know, I would say if you're looking for a negative on Travis Hunter, it's the play strength. It's him being pretty skinny, and as a run defender, as a cornerback, Croc, and I know that's not the reason you're drafting Travis Hunter. He's kind of he tackles like Deion. He kind of dives at the legs a little bit. There's effort there, which I really like though. Like a guy, he doesn't get thrown at a lot, and when he does get thrown at, he makes a lot of plays. But corner on the other side gets beat, or there's a long run from a running back on the other side of the field. He's hustling. He's like running guys down. And this dude's playing 120 snaps a game too, because he's playing defense and offense, and he's still giving effort out there. So that was like remarkable that he's able to have that sort of not get hurt very often. He missed a couple of games. He's able to play that many snaps and play at a high level on both sides of the ball is pretty insane. And I was really impressed with his ball skills as a wide receiver as well as a cornerback. So that's something he absolutely has. I've seen the comp to Champ Bailey thrown out there. Croc, what do you think about that comp for Travis Hunter? I mean, Champ Bailey was a dude.
So the Champ Bailey was also like a 4'2", 4'3" guy, and I'm not sure Travis Hunter is that, but he is a remarkable athlete. I mean, you talked about him. Not sure to see what you were going to see as a receiver. And I remember Richard Sherman. He took a little heat from this because he said he's kind of a bland receiver. And what he meant by that is, I think as a standalone receiver, he's probably not the first guy taken. Now I know he won the Biletnikoff Award, but he may not be the first. Like you may take the big kid out of Arizona over him,
McMillan, yeah,
right. Maybe Luther Burden, maybe, but we talked about the ball skills. It doesn't look just from just pure routes. He always ends up in the right place, but when you throw the ball in the area of him, he just makes plays. Like he makes plays where it is. If he were just a standalone receiver, I still think he'd go top 15.
Yeah, he's a first round athlete for sure. I want to talk a little bit more about Travis Hunter next, Croc, before we get to Abdul Carter and Mason Graham. We got 3 prospects on today's show, so we're going to have to hustle through this a little bit. We put all 3 of these guys in the same episode because they're probably players who aren't going to be there for the San Francisco 49ers at 11, maybe. I want to talk more about Hunter, corner, wide receiver, what the overall value is for Travis Hunter, how we see him as an NFL player, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, as well, defensive lineman, coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Prize Picks. Football season may be over, but basketball is in full swing, and there's no better way to stay in the game than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. For example, this week, if you're looking at Jason Tatum for more than 29 points, best part, Prize Picks is quick and easy, and you can set your lineup in less than 60 seconds. You might want to go big on Jimmy Butler. I would advise that. I don't know if Luka's ever going to play for the Lakers. Has he even played yet? Is he out of shape? Probably a bad trade for the Lakers. We'll see how that goes. Download the app today. Use code Locked On NFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On NFL for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup at Prize Picks. Run your game.
Just so you know, Luka is playing for the Lakers. The game is actually on right now.
Okay.
Playing well. The Lakers are up 15 points. So, I mean, you know, we do what we do. Lake Show, you know how we do. You got to worry about the Warriors, though.
That's right. Hopefully there's a big trade in the 49ers future to get the NFL version of Luka. Myles Garrett on the roster, and maybe the 49ers won't have this pick 11 that we're talking about all these prospects for. So, Travis Hunter, here's my question overall with Travis Hunter. Clearly, I was impressed by his skills as a wide receiver. You mentioned it, the ball skills. He's got ball skills legit, defensively, offensively. You can tell he's a little bit behind as far as a route runner. As a wide receiver, he's still clearly a first-round talent as a wide receiver. You look at his size, listed 6'1", 185. I would guess, if I had to guess, he's got long arms, so he kind of plays to that 6'1". He's probably around 6 feet. Maybe he gets up to 190 before the combine. That's prototype for a corner. For a wide receiver, it's good. It's fine, right? It's I think Garrett Wilson-ish sort of height, weight, speed as a wide receiver. Maybe not quite as refined as Garrett Wilson was coming out, who was a top 10 pick. But I think there could be more refinement there as a wide receiver for Travis Hunter. He's got athleticism. What is he going to run? What is he actually going to weigh in like? I think is going to be pretty important for how high he goes. But I think we probably both agree that he's a corner that could moonlight as a wide receiver. Or do you think that in the modern age of the NFL, could a guy legitimately play both? Because my question with Travis Hunter is, do you count him as both? Because if he's legitimately both, he's the number one pick in the draft. If he's just a corner, he's top 10. If he's just a wide receiver, he's top 15 maybe. But is he number one overall? Is he number two, number three overall if you're only counting one of those positions?
I think he's such a good, just playmaker, right? Like, you want to utilize that on both sides of the ball. So even if he's a full-time corner, you will see him on offense in the NFL, not to the extent of Colorado. Now, why I think it's more challenging, especially at the NFL level, there's just so much that goes into game planning. You know, getting a full game plan offensively and defensively the way that he's able to do it in college, that would be, I don't want to say impossible, but very tough. Now, they can do packages, and that can work for sure. But just thinking that he can play every down like he did on both sides of the ball, like he did in college, I don't see that being possible.
Man, if you could get Champ Bailey and Garrett Wilson in one guy, though, that'd be pretty fun for your football team. You could fix a lot real quick. So Travis Hunter, he gets your stamp of approval. Corner who plays some offense. Yeah.
Corner who plays offense, playmaker. Oh, and real quick, as a receiver, he does have certain nuances to his game. Like, even though he's not like just the craziest route runner, he's kind of he is twitchy and sudden. And you could see him really working defensive backs in that way. And once he gets the ball in his hands, then he's dangerous after the catch. So
yeah,
that is an aspect of his game at the receiver position that definitely translates. If he wanted to be a full-time receiver, yeah, he'd be top 15.
What's interesting is, as a receiver for Travis Hunter, you would think he's got all this athleticism and he's got ball skills, so he'd be like a downfield guy. He was actually better in the short to intermediate area, really good with those, like wide receiver screen passes and that type of stuff, which I was a little bit surprised at. And clearly there's a lot more work that he could do and get more refined as a route runner, as a wide receiver, but further along as a cornerback. And that's probably what a team will draft him to do, is play corner, play a little bit of wide receiver. Although he might argue that he wants to play wide receiver because there's more money involved there, and he's clearly got the physical ability to do that. And would it be easier, Croc, to learn to be an offensive player and learn a little bit of defense? It's like, okay, you're playing zone, you're playing man. It's a lot easier on the defensive side of the ball, right? Not that they're not smart guys on that side of the ball, Croc.
That would be much easier to spend full time at receiver, and then because especially at cornerback, is like, I can just kind of have my coverage. I'm listening to the very last thing on the play. Oh, cover one. Well, I've run cover one all my life. okay, cover three. I've ran cover three all my life. And then it's just the communication aspect of it. But it would be if he were to play two ways or both ways and be able to, I think it would be easier to learn offense. I mean, excuse me, offense is harder to learn. So
Yeah.
easier to start on offense and then kind of move over to the defensive side.
And we never see that. It's always the opposite, right? Where guys start on defense and end up on the offensive side of the ball because they're good with the ball in their hands. That's fascinating. Fascinating with Travis Hunter. We'll see what he ends up doing, where he ends up going. Right now, Croc, of all the guys we've watched, is he your number one prospect before we get to Abdul Carter and Mason Graham?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, is he my number one prospect for the 49ers? No.
Ooh, okay.
But number one prospect in the sense of where he would be on our big board? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's just it's the unique instincts at a certain position that is extremely difficult to find. Like it's hard. It's hard to find that.
Ball skills are hard to find in a wide receiver who only played wide receiver his whole life. And he's got this natural ability.
It's not even just the
ball and
skill.
take the ball away on defense, not just shut guys down and cover in that regard, but to take the ball away. It's phenomenal.
There was one time I saw him cover three guys on one route and then pick the ball off. Like, you're not supposed to do that.
All right, let's look at the defensive line here. Abdul Carter, Penn State, is up next, and he wears that number 11. And the obvious comp, you're watching him, you're like, is this the next Micah Parsons? And where he does look like Micah Parsons, where he looks like a very high draft pick, a top 3 pick in the NFL draft, is his burst and his athleticism coming off the edge, Croc. Abdul Carter, a former linebacker, was a good pass rusher, and then transitioned into full-time defensive end for Penn State in his final season before declaring for the NFL draft. 12 sacks this year. You put on the tape, and the explosion, the athleticism, being able to run the arc and get to the quarterback, like, it just jumps off the tape. It's pretty obvious who Abdul Carter is.
Yeah, so let me find my handy dandy notes that I made on him. Lines up all over the defense. So especially if you go back a year to 2023, you'll see a lot of them at like kind of like a Mike off-ball linebacker position. And then it seemed like this year they transitioned into him being more on the line and doing kind of spot duty off. And sometimes it looked like it was maybe a little bit more specific to a game plan, having him spy a quarterback and do those things. And I will say, watching him in space, he's not the athlete in space that Micah Parsons was. Now, Parsons ran a 4.3, so yeah, freakish, right? So maybe he's a 4.5 guy, which is a terrific athlete if he's an edge rusher, even if he's an off-ball linebacker. But he's just you watch the number, you see what school he's from, and kind of how they've utilized him. But don't expect that he will be Micah Parsons and what Parsons has been at the NFL level. But he is good there. I thought that he did a really good job at times of playing strong, being able to fight through contact, sometimes splitting some doubles. But I did have a little bit more of an issue with his strength when it came to maybe trying to use a little bit more speed to power rushes. Guys didn't move. Like, it's like, all right, let me try to bull rush a guy. No, I'm not really moving off of what you're trying to do. So from the strength standpoint, I think he could get a little bit stronger with the power at the contact point. I would like to see that. But you talked about bending around that corner. He can dip, bend, bounce up, get to the quarterback, change direction, get there now. His first step is really good. He's very active in the run game. And I thought, even though he's not knocking bodies back, he's stout versus holding that line there and then being able to disengage and get to running backs and make tackles near or at the line of scrimmage. Like those were things that I felt like jumped out to where, oh man, this kind of total package here we're talking about with some of his pass rush ability that he has, especially when he gets those one-on-one matchups.
I saw a lot of the same things that you saw. One of the things I loved about him as a pass rusher, he obviously had a good get off. He has the ability to close and finish. He's got the bend. He can get around the corner, but he's got this ability to kind of like slow down mid rush and then go again. And slow offensive linemen have no shot against that move. And so he doesn't need to just beat you with the initial burst to get around the corner. He's got a little bit of finesse to his game and how he can work the rush and still get the angle around the outside, get the speed angle by slowing down and then speeding up again, and guys can't do anything about it. He's got a little bit of a spin move to the inside that he uses quite often. But the speed to power is really not there. It's something you want to see a lot more of, and it's pretty consistent with a lot of the other prospects we've watched for the 49ers who are more likely to be around at pick number 11. So there is a little bust there for Abdul Carter. And I can see why he would go really high, but he's kind of just like a little bit more souped up version of like James Pierce that we've already watched, right? That has not a lot of speed to power, but has a lot of speed and can go get the quarterback. Abdul Carter is like a better version of that, but still doesn't show. Yeah. And that's probably the thing that sets it apart most from Micah Parsons, because Micah Parsons could just blow through guys. He had power and explosion. And I think Abdul Carter, he's listed at 6'3", 252. So I think obviously he's got another full year ahead of Micah Parsons as a prospect coming out, because he was actually rushing the passer this year as a full-time defensive end. And he's got a little bit more length, I think. And we'll see what he looks like at the combine and what he runs. He's not nearly as explosive as Micah Parsons, but he's got burst and he's got speed and he's got a little bit more length. He's going to have to get stronger, though, I think. And it's the one question I have on Abdul Carter is that speed to power. You don't really see that element. And you want to see a little bit of that in the college level if you're going to draft a guy as high as he's going to go.
Ideally, yes. But if I'm looking at him as somebody who is like, look, I get it. Not the greatest speed to power and whatnot, but we can maybe develop that aspect of your game. Your bend, that speed, that first step you have coming off of the edge, able to dip and change direction and redirect. That's a little bit more difficult to teach a guy. So from an athletic trait standpoint, you talked about him kind of being like some of the other guys. He is at the top of those guys where, yeah, maybe a little similarities. Okay, they can do this, they can do that. But it's like, well, they can't do it as well as me, even though I am maybe a little bit limited in an area where I can actually get stronger. Like in high school, what was he? You know, was he rushing off the edge, or was he an off-ball linebacker? Getting to Penn State, he probably was this undersized, souped-up athlete and probably put on weight each year, got a little bit stronger each year, playing off ball. And then this is the first year that he's like, well, I'm full-time, more so edge rusher now. Let me, when I get to the league, I'm going to work with guys that are going to help me with some of my power, my speed to power. And he definitely has the frame to be able to improve on that.
And, technique can be part of it and getting stronger. And he doesn't have to try it a lot because he can win around the edge. And if you can win with speed, why are you going to worry about going through a guy's chest if you don't have to? So, you hope you're getting like Von Miller type of, and I'm not going to put that on him. That's not my comp for him, but that's what you're looking for. It's true speed rusher that can beat the best of them around the corner. That's what Abdul Carter is. Next, Croc, we got to figure out, is it Hunter? Is it Carter at the top? Or is it Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan? Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers presented by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on that than FanDuel at America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off, you want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in that action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. And you can still bet on the NFL when it comes to FanDuel as well. NFL draft props. If you listen to this show, you might have a little advantage on some of those draft props. My favorite way to bet on the NFL all year long, even more so than the games, is the NFL draft. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Croc, you got the #1 pick in the draft. No quarterbacks. Is it Abdul Carter? Is it Travis Hunter? Of all the guys we've watched so far.
Oh, you got to build in the trenches. But I think because of Travis Hunter's just unique ability to the way he's able to change games, it would be hard to pass up on him. It would be hard to pass up on him.
For the 49ers, you might pass up on him for Abdul Carter, though?
For the 49ers, I would have to go Carter, and we got to get these trenches right.
Yeah, got to get the churches right. Speaking of Mason Graham, defensive
Wait,
tackle.
hold on, because I gotta.
Oh,
I would take. I feel like I would take Abdul Carter,
okay.
but I'm just thinking of a young secondary where I have Green, now I got Hunter, Lenore. You're in the slot, like maybe in the third, fourth. Maybe at some point I add another safety, or you have some young safeties with Mustafa. Like that is. The Cleveland Browns already had Myles Garrett, but man, how good of a defense were they when they like, hey, we got Emerson, we got Denzel Ward, we got Greg Newsome. I mean, they turned into like, it was very difficult to beat. I mean, the 49ers damn near couldn't complete a pass on them, rainy
Yeah.
weather.
Yeah.
But who gives the Cincinnati Bengals the most fits? It's the Cleveland Browns because of that secondary. And then you have Myles Garrett. So if you're saying, well, having a guy like Travis Hunter, who's a playmaker, and then you got Green and you got Lenore, and then, well, I still got Nick Bosa, you can talk me into taking them. But I feel like the right thing to do would go Abdul Carter.
By the way, Travis Hunter, his instincts, his ball skills, maybe late career safety as well.
Oh,
right. The Charles Woodson late career, the Rod Woodson late career. I could absolutely see him doing that. We're getting way ahead of ourselves because we're talking about, decade down the road here with Travis Hunter. Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan. He is a try-hard guy. He is not as athletic and body beautiful as maybe some other guys. So
wait. My bad. One more thing about Travis Hunter. Sorry.
Okay.
We'll get to Graham. Travis Hunter will probably go to the 49ers right now and be their best receiver.
Yeah. Would you just put him at wide receiver then for the Niners?
I mean, again, I don't want to take away. I want him to play corner because I think he has such special instincts there. But I do believe he would be the 49ers' best receiver.
There you go. Travis
especially
Hunter.
once you get rid of, not especially because you get rid of Debo. And I feel like 49ers, they have good receivers that do what they do very well. But I think that they're very kind of specific outside of Brandon Ayuk, who's coming off of an injury, right? But like even from just a pure playmaking, what was one of our biggest things with Ayuk coming out of college? Do you remember like a big knock?
Contested catch.
Wasn't a great contested catch. Travis Hunter is, and he's faster. He's just as twitchy, and he would be the 49ers' best receiver. So
Abdul Carter wouldn't be the 49ers' best defensive lineman. Would Mason Graham be the 49ers' best defensive tackle if they took him at pick 11 or even traded up to get him? Mason Graham out of Michigan. I love the way he is violent. I love the physicality he plays with. I love the motor that he plays with inside. I think he wins a ton, both with his push physically, as a pass rusher as well. He's good against the pass. He's good against the run, Croc. But when he shows up at the combine, the underwear Olympics, he might not impress GMs as much as maybe some other guys. So of all the players we're talking about here, Mason Graham could sneak a little closer, I think, than either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter to the 49ers' 11th pick in the draft. What did you see when you put on the tape for number 55, defensive tackle, Mason Graham out of Michigan?
All right, I've been wanting that like just big space eater guy, and I don't know if he has the height that when I think of kind of these bigger guys, but he definitely like from a width standpoint and weight. Now again, I don't know how much he weighs. I don't know how tall he is, but he looks like 6'2", 325.
You're close. The other thing is he's playing next to Kenneth Grant at Michigan. So I think that changes what Mason Graham looks like because dude is what, 340 pounds, like 6'5", 340, the guy next to him in Kenneth Grant. Mason Graham, you're close though. He's listed 6'3", 318.
Oh, okay. So,
yeah. But more
right
of a
good eyes, Croc. I was close.
I mean, you got the scouting eye, man.
Eric Crocker, always around the football at that time, made a great catch.
Yeah, 6'3", 318. Still more of like a 3 tech than like a space eating nose tackle, 1 tech, 0 tech in the 49ers defense, right? He's a 3 tech, he's a pass rusher, he's a penetrator, and he's a try hard guy. What will he work out? What will he look like? What will he work out at the combine? It's going to be pretty big for where he finally ends up going. But the tape is good.
You call him a try-hard guy. And that's one of the things that jumped out to me immediately. You talked about Travis Hunter and, running down, stuff and giving maximum effort. I thought Graham, especially for a big guy, he does not stop moving. Terrific motor. I'm watching him against USC. And, I mean, he's 10 yards, 11, 12 yards downfield running and, guy in space. And he's trying to make moves and stuff. And here comes big-ass Graham. Boom. Tackling them from behind. Like, this is a guy who's going to always give max effort. You talked about him being a pass rusher. I don't know if that's something that jumped out to me, aside from having a mean bull rush and being able to knock centers and guards back into the lap of the quarterback. Like, so, pass rush, there's a lot of things, right? Let's say a deep threat. You can be a deep threat because you're faster than everybody and win, or you can be a deep threat because, man, I'm so great using my body on contested catches and positioning myself to make sure that I win, right? So there's different ways to be deep threat. I think being a pass rusher, there's different ways. And for him, it's not as much of, I'm just going to, beat you with all this finesse. But, man, I can knock this guy right back into the lap of the quarterback. And maybe I don't get the sack, but Nick Bosa will. He's going to clean it up. And I feel like the 49ers, they kind of been missing that. And I've been wondering, man, when are they going to get a guy that's just, dude, I'm not finesse. But every play, this guy in front of me is going to have to deal with me. He's going to have to try to anchor down, and he's not going to be able to anchor down enough. Because, again, he's listed at 6'3". Heck, he may come in at 6'1.5", right? He may come in at maybe a legit 6'2". Well, What does that mean for him against offensive linemen? Depending on the arm length, but he may win the leverage game before the snap is even taken, just because he has, he's just lower, more compact. But then he's wide enough and strong enough to get underneath guys. That was something I feel like 49ers kind of missing. I'm watching guys try to double him, and he's just eating those double teams and not getting pushed or kicked out of there. And I just think back to the Super Bowl the NFC Championship game against the Philadelphia Eagles 49ers, and watching Kinlaw just get thrown all the way down the line of scrimmage. Like, you're not throwing Graham down the line of scrimmage. It's a boom. Okay, you guys want to double me? That's cool. I'm going to be stout right here, and I'm going to create a pile at worst.
He's a guy that's going to go to war, and he's going to do his job stopping the run. His best pass rush move is straight ahead. It's a bull rush, and he's got enough feet. He's got enough finesse that he can win in other ways. And he's a really fun player to watch. And I think as far as like just getting home and finishing the play, it might not blow you away statistically what he's done in college and even what he might do in the NFL, but he might open up a lot of things for a lot of other guys. And they're shaped so much differently. But I look at what Eric Armstead did for the 49ers defense, and you realize how much you miss a guy like that. I think Mason Graham could bring that ability in a little bit of a different way, but he could bring that ability to the 49ers defensive line. And I think he'd be a phenomenal pick. I think at pick number 11, Mason Graham versus Walter Nolan, one of the other top defensive tackles that we've watched so far. Croc, is there a clear difference for you with those two guys?
Because I'm looking for just more stout, I would go Graham, but 49ers, they like these guys that are a little bit more, quick penetrators getting upfield, so they may like Nolan more.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Nolan a lot. Like, just player for player, I would take Nolan, but if I'm looking at 49ers and being able to, like, I've been screaming, just have somebody that's just going to stop the run. Like, just, I'm not going to move. I'm just going to stop the run. I'm going to be very stout versus that. And I feel like he finally someone that can give me that.
And for the 49ers, they need that. I think they know they like that, but they're not going to draft a guy that can't also get after the quarterback, which Mason Graham can, which makes me think that they would have him ranked still pretty high. Will he get to pick 11? Would the 49ers want to even move up for him? I'm not sure about moving up, maybe a couple spots, but Mason Graham's an interesting one. I think right now, the best player that could potentially be there for the 49ers at pick 11 with where we are in our big board. And I think right now, these three guys, I think they lived up to the billing. I enjoyed the tape for all three of these guys. And I think right now, if we're looking at our 49ers, Lockdown 49ers big board, I think they'd probably be 1, 2, 3 for me on that big board ahead of guys like Josh Simmons, Will Campbell, James Pierce, Walter Nolan. I think those are some of our top guys right now. All three of these guys would be ahead of all those guys, I think. So they lived up to that billing because that's where they go in mock drafts too.
Before we started recording, you asked me if I had a hot take. Do you think it's a hot take with me saying Travis Hunter would be the 49ers' best receiver?
No. As a rookie, it's tough. Would Kyle Shanahan put him on the field? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, especially when you're dealing with Kyle. Okay, I'm throwing that out the window. I'm just saying, just in a regular world where Kyle Shanahan is not the head coach of a rookie receiver, would he be, if you add Travis Hunter to your receiver room with the guys the 49ers have, and you'd say, all right, who's the best guy here? And he's bendy, fluid, athletic. That's not a shot at Ayuk. I think Ayuk is terrific. This guy's just a higher prospect.
I would trust Ayuk to run that backside dig that Kyle Shanahan loves so much, but I would trust Travis Hunter to get more yards on a screen pass, more yards on a slant. I trust him to come down with a 50-50 ball down the field. So the refinement, the route running I would give to Ayuk. But in every other way, Travis Hunter would probably be the best receiver on the 49ers. Yeah. I can't argue with that. I mean,
but he's a corner. So
yeah, but he's a corner first.
Well, that's what makes him probably just number one overall pick, maybe, or number two, because how many rooms could he step in and say, "Oh, I'm the best receiver in this room"? But it's like, but I'm a corner.
I'm the best corner and the best receiver. I'm the best play for teams. Like if the Cleveland Browns traded Myles Garrett, Travis Hunter could walk in the first day of his rookie season and be the best player on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to go high.
And that's saying a lot. I mean, Denzel Ward is over there. He's a hell of a corner.
Tennessee Titans, Travis Hunter could say the same thing.
If you're Tennessee and you're just saying, look, I don't know if these quarterbacks are franchise-changing guys, so I just want someone who's going to make my football team better, you go and get him. And he damn sure could play both ways for them. The Treylon Burks thing has not worked out.
He played quarterback for the Titans. All right. Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter. What do you guys think? Let us know at BD Peacock, at Crocky209. Drop a comment on YouTube. Subscribe while you're there. Croc and I back tomorrow right here. Locked On 49ers.
Lakers are up 30 points right now.